Good morning. This is a presentation of the interaction of alcohol and the endocrine system, part of the Research Society on Alcoholism, RSA, lecture series on the biomedical consequences of excessive alcohol consumption. Alcohol is the most frequent use drug of abuse, and it can get virtually to every tissue in the body, producing negative consequences. Alcohol is the third leading lifestyle-related cause of death in the United States because of its contribution to several diseases, including diabetes mellitus, hypertension, ischemic heart disease, cardiovascular disease, and pneumonia. Alcohol can alter the endocrine function and contribute to a greater risk for disease. The function of the endocrine system is to coordinate and to integrate the activity of cells within the body by regulating cell and organ function throughout life and maintaining homeostasis. Homeostasis is the dynamic maintenance of an internal environment balance or equilibrium despite changing conditions. It is critical to ensuring appropriate cellular function. This maintenance of this constant internal environment despite changes in the external or internal environment is the main principal role of the endocrine system. Some of the key functions of the endocrine system include the regulation of reproduction, growth, and development, the coordination of the hemodynamic and metabolic counter-regulatory responses to stress or adaptation to changes in the environment, the control of energy balance and fuel mobilization, whether we're fasted or we're fed, how we utilize substrates, how we utilize and how we store energy, the balance of electrolytes and water impacting blood pressure regulation, and the control of ions like calcium and phosphate that impact on bone health and on function. In the classic description of the endocrine system, a chemical messenger, also known as a hormone, is made by an organ and is released into the circulation to produce an effect in a distant target organ. Currently, the definition of the endocrine system is that of an integrated network of multiple organs derived from different origins during embryonic development. This endocrine network of organs and mediators doesn't work in isolation, but it is closely controlled and integrated by the central and the peripheral nervous system. Three basic components make up the core of the endocrine system: the hormones, which are produced by the endocrine gland. In this case, the example being shown is that of insulin. The target organ that contains the cells that express hormone-specific receptors to respond to the hormone binding to a demonstrable effect, and the control mechanism that in this case is a release of neurotransmitters from a neuron. The biologic response to hormones is elicited through binding to hormone-specific receptors at the target organ. So if you think of it, a hormone, depicted as the key in this particular slide, needs to fit precisely in the keyhole of a lock in order to open or to allow that cell to produce a biological response. These mediators, these chemicals, these hormones, circulate in very, very small concentrations. Therefore, it is important that there is high specificity of this hormone receptor interaction. The classic endocrine glands are spread throughout the body. They're not physically connected to each other. They make and they release these hormones or chemicals into the blood, and they circulate in the blood until they reach the target organ where they produce a response. Listed on this slide are the different organs, including the hypothalamus in the brain, the pituitary gland also in the brain, the thyroid gland in the front of our neck, parathyroid glands located right behind the thyroid gland, The adrenal glands, which sit on top of our kidneys, the pancreas, which is in the abdominal compartment, and the ovaries and the testes in man. And as you can see, there are multiple different types of hormones that are released by these organs that enter the circulation and that produce a response in target organs. Alcohol has been reported to affect many of the hormones that are produced in our body. It has been shown to decrease melatonin release and to alter our circadian rhythms, affecting the way that our brain integrates the light and the sleep-wake cycle. Alcohol has been shown to increase circulating levels of prolactin, a hormone important in the synthesis of milk during lactation, and to enhance or increase estradiol-induced development of prolactin-producing tumors. Alcohol suppresses the function of the growth hormone system, decreasing growth hormone and IGF-1 levels, decreasing the amount of growth hormone that is released during sleep, and decreasing the responsiveness of target tissues. This may impair bone and muscle growth. Alcohol has also been shown to decrease vasopressin and oxytocin release. These two hormones are made in the brain, released into the circulation, and their main role is to control water balance and milk ejection. Alcohol has been demonstrated to decrease thyroid hormone release and to alter their metabolism, potentially affecting cognition. Acutely, alcohol has been shown to increase the activity of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, otherwise known as the stress axis. However, chronically, alcohol suppresses the basal or normal activation of this system. Therefore, alcohol disrupts the way that the body can respond to a stress response. Alcohol decreases parathyroid hormone release, increasing the amount of calcium loss in the urine, and this might actually impact on bone health. Alcohol affects aldosterone release, increasing aldosterone levels, leading to an enhanced salt retention and increased loss of potassium. Increasing salt retention will lead to an increase in water retention, thereby potentially affecting blood pressure regulation. Alcohol increases the release of stress hormones from the adrenal medulla, epinephrine and norepinephrine, and enhances overall stress response. And in terms of sex hormones, alcohol decreases libido. It produces changes in the menstrual cycle. It can lead to a decrease in gonadal function and to changes in estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone levels. So the effects of chronic alcohol consumption on the endocrine system are very similar to those that are produced by chronic stress. If we think of chronic exposure to alcohol, basically enhancing stress-like responses, we can begin to understand that alcohol's interaction with this stress response might actually further enhance the stress-induced alterations in endocrine function, leading to an increased risk for diseases or conditions like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and infertility, all of them which could be exacerbated by alcohol consumption. In summary, alcohol produces significant changes in multiple different components of the endocrine system. While some of these systems, there seems to be a better understanding of how alcohol impacts on hormone release or action, in many instances, little is known about the underlying mechanisms that explain the alterations in endocrine function seen with acute and chronic alcohol use. Some of these are shared among tissues. Some cases involve a decrease in the receptor expression and responsiveness. Alcohol might impact on dietary intake of nutrients and their absorption. Alcohol produces a stiffer fibrotic tissue environment. It can lead to the death of cells. It can change the way that genes are coded and therefore the proteins that are made by altering their synthesis. It can decrease chemicals released from the brain, and it can decrease energy production and use by cells, basically demonstrating that there are multiple aspects of the endocrine function that are affected by alcohol. And if we think of the initial presentation where I described that virtually every function of the body, from conception to senescence and death, is under regulation by the endocrine system, we can begin to understand the potential of excessive or unhealthy alcohol use impacting multiple of these processes, increasing the risk for disease. For that, I thank you for your attention.